Well, joining me now from our Melbourne studios is Elizabeth Edwards from the Victorian Forced Adoption Support Group Origins. Elizabeth Edwards, good morning. This is obviously very difficult for these women, and for some of them it's the first time they've spoken of this publicly.
Absolutely, because we were forced to feel the shame. The industry even told us that we were evil and that we needed to be rehabilitated. That was part of their agenda.
Tell us about your story.
In 1963, I delivered a baby girl, just as she was about to crown. I heard distorted voices, and the next thing I woke up, and she had been removed from the room. And I was told I was not allowed to see her and that society would forgive one mistake. In my case, they didn't hold up a pillow. They turned up the nitrous oxide to render me unconscious. And I firmly believe they did that to preclude any bonding between me and my baby.
Have you ever been able to find your baby girl?
The first time I laid eyes on my daughter, she was 26 years of age and expecting her third child. She was married and expecting her third child.
Have you been able to establish a strong relationship with her now?
We have a relationship. I wouldn't exactly call it strong. She has her loyalties to the family that she grew up in, and it becomes very complex.
Yeah. What are you hoping for from this inquiry?
Well, we're talking about crimes in past adoption practices. So we're hoping that those crimes will be addressed. We're also hoping that the legislation here in Victoria, as that lady that was previously speaking said, she could not access any of her records here in Victoria. We're still in a covert state, and a mother is discriminated here in Victoria. She cannot know the identity of her child. She has to go through a conduit. And on the other hand, the child who's been adopted can know the identity of their mother.
So there are some women who are still searching for their children who were taken from them at birth. Are there also some women whose children who may have been told that their child was stillborn, but that in fact that child was adopted out, and some women may not be aware of that now?
That's quite possible, although since they've opened up the records, and that happened in 1988, children started to knock on people's doors and say, well, look, I'm the child that you gave up for adoption. So, yeah, whilst it's a possibility, it's highly likely by now that, this is coming to the fore.
Yeah. But can you believe it is still tough for mothers to try and track their children down?
It's really difficult if you have to go back to the same agency that took your baby in the first place. And we're talking about forced removals and fraudulent taking of consents.
When you say, Elizabeth Edwards, you hope the crimes will be addressed, what do you mean?
Well, first of all, I hope that they will recognise our truth. I'm talking about the Senate inquiry here, and it's a very complex issue. We've been traumatised. We need our trauma addressed, and we also, I believe, we need some kind of retribution, financial retribution, for the pain and suffering that we have had forced upon us. Our subsequent families have been, adversely affected because we've been very depressed women for most part.
Okay, Elizabeth Edwards, thanks so much for talking to us, and good luck with your journey.
Thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate that.